you expect when someone that young dies. And that's one of the great uses of funerals, surely, is to be cited when people protest at their barbaric holdovers from the past, that you should celebrate the life rather than mourn to death, and so on. Celebrate the life by all means, but face up to the death of that life. Weep all the tears you have in you to weep, because whatever may happen next, if anything does, this has happened. Something precious and irreplaceable has come to an end, and something in you has come to an end with it. Funerals put a period after the sentence's last word. They close a door. They let you go on with your life. The child was dead, but Jesus, when he got there, said she was only asleep. He said the same thing when his friend Lazarus died. Death is not any more permanent than sleep is permanent, is what he meant, apparently. That isn't to say he took death lightly. When he heard about Lazarus, he wept. And it's hard to imagine him doing any differently here. But if death is the closing of one door, he seems to say it is the opening of another one. Talitha kumai. He took the little girl's hand and he told her to get up, and she did. The mother and father were there, Mark says, the neighbors, the friends. It's a scene to conjure with. Old woman, get up. Young man, the one you don't know how you'll ever manage to live without. The one you don't know how you ever manage to live with. Little girl, get up, he says. The other use of funerals is to remind us of those two words. When the last hymn has been sung, the benediction given in the immediate family escorted out a side door, they may be the best we have to make it possible to get up ourselves.
Well, thank you so much. That was beautiful. You guys have done an amazing job of just honoring your mom, a wonderful woman. It's absolutely amazing. I just want to close with a few thoughts, and we'll have one more song and a reception for us together. As I was talking to Nelda's children over the last couple of days, I just simply asked them for some words that would remind them of their mom. They've used those words, and so much of this is going to be redundant, but it's just going to be more of a summary. The three words that stand out are loving, incredibly strong, and very funny. So loving, strong, and funny. And loving because she always saw the best in people. She was very uncomfortable with discord, tried hard to root out any seeds of discord. She accepted all the kids all the time, both in their joys and their disappointments. She just never stopped loving them. She was incredibly strong in her parenting. You've heard some of the stories about how that took place, but really even more specifically in her attitude to not complain. And that takes strength. That takes strength. Even as her body was failing, there was this absence of bitterness. She wasn't in denial of the situation, but she wouldn't allow herself to become bitter. As you visited her, she would not be telling you her list of woes. She was asking about how you were doing, how your family was doing. You heard the girls share that. Even in her just amazing story of her rallying from death, and then they were just giving her a couple, longer times so that she could actually literally, as the kids told me, be there for them when their father passed. And over again, and you've heard it said, and you saw it in the videos and just in the comments, and she's just very funny with a great sense of humor. Dad had the corny jokes, but Mom had the quick, sarcastic wit. So I had the privilege. Dan Jackson called me into ministry from another job, and what a privilege my wife Missy and I had to serve under them as Nelda ministered both to my wife and ministered to me. And I can remember as new in the ministry and going to their house or being around Nelda and have her say something that I thought was just amazingly hilarious, and thought, can I laugh here? I mean, because it's okay. I didn't know what you did in ministry, but I thought, she's really funny. And I really want to kind of just laugh along with her. So she was just really dying on that. I mean, just one example of how that carried on to the end. In fact, this was probably one of the blessings. There was a period in her life as her body was failing that literally just to deal with pain and the expectation of her failing. She was on morphine and medicine. And so really what disappeared was her wit and kind of her sense of fun, as the medicine tends to do that. But as she rallied and came out of that, and she was no longer needing to be on the medicine and coming back to her old self. Her wit returned along with that. And so here's this one story that is absolutely wild. Is that when she was first coming out of it, she had to have all her food in a blender. So everything had to be mushed up and put in a blender. And so the nurse came in with the meal of the day and took the lid off, and there was piles of mushed up things. And she looked at one of these items and said, "What is this?" And so went to the nurse and said, "Well, that's bread, all blended up and mushed." To which Nelda just quickly responded and said, "Who would put bread in a blender?" It's just that kind of response and that quick wit and just her love for life. And the kids often commented that they would walk away crying and laughing at the same time. And I can come up with an obscure passage to pull things together, but a classic woman really deserves a classic passage. And so I'm gonna read Proverbs 31, and I'm only gonna interrupt a few times, because it really doesn't need much extra explanation. It just describes your mom so well, so wonderfully well. So I'm just gonna pick it up at Proverbs 31, chapter 10. An excellent wife who can find. She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. And her husband Dan just bragged about Nelda all the time, to me, to staff. Much of his funeral was about his comments and love for his wife. So we can see that she did him good. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. She rides as wild as yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maiden. She considers the field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. So to put it in the vernacular of her children, she ran the three-ring circus really well. Really, really well. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. And I love that whole statement about that was supposed to be a short interview with Nana, and it turned out to be, oh, I'll get my makeup and make sure I'm ready to go, make sure I look good, and always want to dress well. My wife has a story about just watching Nelda at Christmas time always come completely dressed up in velvet and colors. And after a year or two of that, Missy was like, "Okay, we're dressing up. We're not going to Christmas casual because the pastor's wife's not going casual." It was really encouragement to her. To this day, we're going dressed up to a Christmas Eve service. So she was really impressed by that. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. Nelda just didn't present to present. She did it to make a point to honor the Lord and to also show her respect for people around her. So everything she did with class, and she did well. She puts her hand to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle. That's just sewing, working, constantly being involved in something. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. And Nelda did a great job of that. Not just the material poor, but you heard how she poured into people and in mops clubs and things like that. She poured into my wife as a brand new pastor's wife, and Missy to this day often goes back to things that Nelda had shared with her and talked to her about. She's not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed in scarlet. She makes bed coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. She just took care of things. She had a lot of excuses not to. Well, I've got a job, and my husband's a pastor, and no, she took care of everybody, and she kept an eye on those things. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. It's any pastor who's smart knows that if he's known in the gates, it's because of his wife. And that was exactly what Nelda did. She helped Dan to be known in the gates. She makes linen garments, sells them, she delivers sashes to the merchants. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. And this is such a representation of Nelda, that strength and dignity truly were her clothing. Yes, and clothing was important to her, and she dressed well, but strength and dignity truly represents her. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. We talked about her quick wit, but honestly, out of that wit came this teaching, and out of that tongue came kindness as well. That's why women gathered around her and wanted to be part of her groups. She looks well to the ways of her household, does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, and they've done that today very well. It's amazing. Her husband also, when he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. You know, this is the most appropriate time. Nelda would probably not have liked this event. Eventually she would have stood up and said, "That's enough." Move on to the food. But because of the life she lived, then we can stand here and acknowledge the work that God placed in her. She certainly exemplifies. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. And let me just simply close with this thought. That Nelda would not want us to even leave this event among these people, who she's probably talked to all of you one-on-one several times, without asking this question: are you a man or a woman who fears the Lord? That would be her most important question coming back now. If God gave her that privilege, and he doesn't, to come back, and she doesn't want to come back, she's with her Lord Jesus Christ and with her husband, but if she came back, that would be the question. I've been there and I've seen, know that you're a man or a woman who fears the Lord. And so she would probably even quote the verse: confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, and you shall be saved. So if any part of what you've heard today has made you say, wow, I hope that when I pass, I can leave this type of legacy, know that that's where it starts. It starts with you giving your life to Jesus. Let's just pray. We have one more song. We're going to do that one more song, and then I'll bring us up and close us in prayer. Again, a song you're familiar with, so enjoy as we sing along together.
Heal and forgive.
Tammy and Tanya, Terry and Dan, there's not enough time between April 9th and August 21st in the same year. It just isn't. And I want to acknowledge that. And you don't have to be strong pastor's kids or strong kids of a mom who did a great job. Your strength and foundation and the matriarch and the patriarch, you came into this year and you're going to end this year in different situations, and that's okay. So as we sang, life is worth the living because he lived. You have that confidence of knowing where your parents are, but that doesn't mean that you just can ignore the hurt. And so I just want to encourage you to have conversations with each other, to pick up the phone, talk, share memories. I want to encourage the rest of you in this room who've got their phone numbers to do the same thing. And let's just come alongside and be the type of people that provide encouragement. And if there's one thing that I know your parents did well, is they said, just be real and be who you are. And they accepted you and allowed you to do that. So there's no set pattern as to what that looks like in the next several years. But they would say, and I would agree with them, just be real and be who you are. I know that your Lord Jesus, who walked so faithfully with your parents, is walking faithfully with you right now. Let me pray. Because you live, we face tomorrow, Lord, even when we have such great loss today. And so in the same breath, we are so thankful for the lives that we have celebrated over these last several months, and specifically as for the life of Nelda that we celebrate today, of mom and grandma and sister and aunt and friend. And so God, we thank you that we would even have the grief because it means that the person was great in our lives. And so we thank you for that. I ask that your Holy Spirit would be real and obvious. Your word says it, it's a spirit of comfort, the Holy Spirit of comfort. And so we just pray that consolation, that comfort will be obvious in the life of her children now, and her sister and her grandchildren, and those that are hurting. Thank you, Lord. We do want to acknowledge that we know that they are without pain, and they walk with you, and they talk with you, and we look forward to that time when we can be with you and then be with them again. And we thank you. God's people said, Amen. Amen. You are all invited and encouraged to join us. The reception is right here. During the reception, we're actually going to have a microphone set up, and if you would like an opportunity to share with the group, we would encourage you to do that. But also, I would encourage you to come alongside your family and share some stories as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for your help in putting this together. You are dismissed. Please join us for the reception. God bless you.